Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Scratching Post presented by SaskTel. I'm your host, Arthur Ward, and today I have another lovely guest here in the studio with us, and we are going to share a lot of great stories today. Today I have someone who's born in Regina and is a very well-known, well-respected individual in the sports landscape here not just here in the city, but across Canada. She left to go and play soccer down the States at the College of the Southwest in Hobbs, New Mexico. Back in the day, let's say that. Played 2 seasons there and then left to come back to Regina, I assume when she found out that the Regina was starting a women's soccer program of their own back in 2001. Played 3 seasons, the inaugural seasons of the women's soccer program here at the University of Regina. And then after her playing career was over, she came back as an assistant coach and then went on to coach within the city and across the province, so much so that she won the Grassroots Soccer Association Award for her work with developing grassroots players in the province. Loves working with kids, loves working with children, is very experienced in that regard. And then, went up a few levels and coached some older players by being assistant coach with the program from 2016 to 2020. After that, did a stint as an interim coach. And ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, the head coach of a women's soccer program, Astrid Baecker. Astrid, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to chat with you on the Scratch and Post.
You were one of the founding players of the soccer program here at the U of R. Tell us about that. What was that like back then compared to how the program operates now?
Yeah, when I think back, holy smokes, 2001, we were so naive about what our competition was going to look like. Like, we really didn't know at that time the national team players were playing in our league, in our division, U of C, U of A. We had these great powerhouses, and we just didn't even know what that competition was going to look and feel like. And I think if I pull lessons from those early days, it's that you can go out and you can compete with anyone if you have that right mindset. And yeah, we had some lopsided scores back then. We had, some really bad losses when you just look at the scoreboard. But there was moments that we could compete. And I think that group of players learned that it's not just about wins and losses, that this experience means so much more. And those relationships that I made in those first 3 years of the program, they've lasted a lifetime. Those are the women, we hold each other's babies, we go to each other's weddings, we get together. That's our core of our alumni that we're establishing. And it is so much more than wins and losses.
Let's talk about you as a player back then for a second.
Sure.
Describe the type of player you were.
I was a midfielder. I loved being in the middle of the field. That being said, I also, saw myself as a utility player and a team player. So if there is a position, if there's a role that needed to be filled, I just had this genuine desire to be on the field for the good of the team. So although I felt the most comfortable and I felt like I could contribute the most in the midfield, if we had an injury or if we need to just change something we were doing, I was always open to being very adaptable. I loved learning about the game. I coached very early when I was 14. So developing my soccer IQ and just wanting to know the curiosity of the game really filled my cup as a midfielder. You have to be a 360 player. You have to know what the players in front of you and behind you are doing. So I found, as somebody who coached really young and then got to play at a very high level, that the midfield was just the perfect fit for me.
Okay. So, EJ, I want you to pull up a clip here. One of your past teammates, you spoke about the group of women you connected with back then. We caught up with her to let her describe the type of player you were. So we're going to put it up on the screen here, and we'll just have you watch that and just comment on that for for a second afterwards. Go ahead and run the tape, EJ.
Did you play with Astrid?
I did.
Tell us what Astrid was like as a player. Give us the tea.
Was she an intense competitor?
No.
No?
She is like, if I were to tell Astrid to her face, I would say she was the slowest player I've probably ever played with, but the smartest player I've ever played with, and her ability to play like a long ball into space is second to none. I met Astrid when I was playing at the University of Regina. She was a central midfielder and I was a goalkeeper. Astrid's ability to play a long ball into space is second to none, and she's probably one of the smartest midfielders I've ever played with.
I like that.
I left the slow part out. But she would tell you that.
She would love it. No, I think that's good. That's good.
So the Monica Dieters, one of your assistant coaches on the team, past goalkeeper, said that speed wasn't your greatest attribute, but that you were very smart on the pitch. What do you have to say about that?
You know, she's not wrong. I would never claim to have been the fastest player on the team. I'd never claim, you know, to even be middle of the pack. But I was very self-aware. I knew how to play to my strengths. I knew that distribution and one-touch play could let me play at a high level. I could run all day. So I could work hard. I could keep my work rate up very high in games, but I definitely knew how to play to my strength. I really refined my skills of playing 1-2 touch soccer, and I loved being the quarterback of the team. I loved, you know, receiving and playing and sending Jesse Waller for beautiful through balls or over the top of back lines. I loved reading what our opponents were trying to do, and then just by passing. It would be hard to find a clip of me ever taking a ball for a run or ever being on the receiving end of a long ball, but that just wasn't me as a player. And I think even that, if you look at lessons that you take forward throughout your life and your career, is you find your strengths. You figure out what your weaknesses are, you become self-aware, and you figure out how to improve your weaknesses within your capabilities, and you play to your strengths. And, you know, I never once left any training, any game, any soccer situation with my head down that I was slow. I would have been the first person to acknowledge that, and I never let my teammates down by being slow. I love that she hesitated in the second clip to say it, but I mean, and that's me to this day. You play the ball to my feet, don't play to space, you know, and the players around you know that. And I think when you look at developing young athletes and you look at developing adult athletes, because we are develop first model, we don't stop developing our players. It's what are your strengths? What can we improve on? Where are our trainable effects that we can get you to? We didn't have the luxury of this beautiful strength and conditioning and API that our athletes do now. So there also wasn't anyone saying to me, hey, look, we can improve your speed. We can improve this. We were left on our own to figure those pieces out. Yeah. So definitely, you know, everything's trainable. Yeah. But it starts with your mindset. And that was something that set me apart. I went into every single game, even if we had just lost to U of C the day before 8-0. I went into every single day reset that we're going to compete, and this could be the game that we won. And we did see some wins and some ties against really good opponents back in the day that we shouldn't have got. Mm-hmm. But definitely mindset, and everything is trainable.
So you spoke about playing to your strengths. How does, let's say, someone, you know, maybe watching or listening to this podcast who has aspirations of joining a university team, how do they get to that point where they can identify where their strengths are and play to it? How do they discover from within themselves what they're good at? What's that process like for them?
You know, I think one thing that I'm seeing aligned to that question is just the confidence in young athletes, developing the confidence to say, here's what I'm good at. And there seems to be, you know, that's a little lacking right now. Oftentimes I'll sit and I'll talk to recruits anywhere from grade 9 to grade 12 are first-year university students, and we talk about the game in 4 moments. So defensive organization, attack organization, and the 2 transition moments alongside those. And I'll say, where are you the best? Like, I believe as a coach, you have to be excellent in 2 of those and competent in the other 2. Where are you the best? And the hesitation that a lot of players in just answering a question of what are you the best at, that makes me feel sad. I want players to say, here's where I'm the best. I need the ball in AO, and this is where it feels good. I like meaningful possession. I like holding the ball. I like, and I find more and more people, more players are scared to say what they're good at. Watch yourself on video. Where are the moments that you like seeing what you did? And those moments that feel sticky, or those moments that you're still thinking about after you're done video review, those are where you need to improve. You don't need a coach to tell you that, right? But yeah, just that self-aware piece of who am I? What am I good? Do a SWOT analysis on yourself. What are your strengths and weaknesses? Where are there opportunities, right?
Yeah.
Where are there trends in the game? I played at a time where a spinning back ball, a spinning chip, with a little backspin over the back line was a trend in the women's game. And it just held up for the strikers to run onto in space. What are the trends of the modern game now? Well, now we have center backs that play that ball, not as much the midfielders. The game's changed. So know what the game is changing and know where you fit in with your strengths and those trends. We actually just right now are doing a little SWOT personality analysis with our current players. Because we want them to celebrate their strengths, and we want them to be self-aware of where we can make little improvements in our off season.
It's very interesting. You mentioned that, like myself, I did 5 years with the Cougars track and field team, and when I tell people, oh, I'm part of the track team, people always look at me as like, oh, you must be fast. I was like, no, I am not fast. Actually, the opposite. I'm the slowest guy on the team. It's like, what? It's like, yeah, no, I'm the slowest guy on the team. However, I own that because that confidence piece you spoke about, like, I realized the situation. Hey, I'm the slowest person on this team, but speed is not my job here. I'm a jumper, and my job is to excel in one event, that's triple jump. Speed would help me, and it's up to me to get faster. So what I did is I looked at the fastest girl on the team, and I say, hey, I'm the slowest guy on the team, but I'm faster than a fastest female sprinter. And that was something I held, I just walked with my chest up, and I was proud of that. And at the time, the fastest female sprinter on the team was Joy Baecker, who had the record for her team for many years. And in my final year, she actually beat me at practice over a 60-meter sprint. And I take a little bit of credit for her, having that record for that long. But those are mechanisms I use to motivate myself and not get turned off from me not having the skills or attributes that people kind of deem necessary for a successful athlete. I was successful, but I took that could have been negative and spun it into something positive. I think the mindset is very important in how you gain that confidence to approach something like that.
Yeah, true.
So you said also that you're doing SWOT analysis with your team. It feels like a modern day approach to coaching. What's your coaching style like, and what are some of the methods and strategies that you are bringing into the locker room, if you care sharing anything about that?
Yeah, I mean, I have a really great situation to be in. I have this group of players that have a high amount of buy-in into what we're trying to do as a program. We want to get this program to a Final Four. We had a 3 to 5 year plan. I remember sharing my vision with the coaching staff and then probably the most nerve-wracking meeting was the first head coach meeting that I had with the program, is that I'm standing in front of these amazing, talented players that I have so much respect for. And I wanted to be the coach that this program needed. And I rolled it out and said, like, we're going to grow forward. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to learn from them. We're going to just continue to get better. And we're going to find the gaps as we go along in this journey, and we're going to keep closing them. And then that started to happen, and those playoff appearances started to happen, and then the conversation started to turn to, what's going to be next, and as a group, it started to form into this Final Four, and it came from all this motivation around annual coaches polls, and us always being in the bottom, and all of a sudden it was like, well, we keep placing much higher every year than what the coaches put us in the following year. So it internally became this conversation around, well, let's not focus on that number in the way that it defines us, but let's focus on it in the way that it can motivate us. So a lot of pregame conversations and speeches and halftime, when we remotivate ourselves, came around the number that was in the coaches poll.
Okay.
And from there came the goals and the shared vision that we're going to change that number. We're gonna make this a Final Four team. And a piece of me is so motivated and sad, but it's also heavy on my heart that we have this group of 11 to 14 players who are going to graduate this upcoming season. And we're going to go after that goal with just like reckless abandonment that this is ours to attain. But then I'm going to say goodbye. And that's when you look at it and you look at what this group of players in this program has seen me evolve through as a head coach, seeing what the program has evolved to, but the growth in every single one of those players on the field, off the field, in our classrooms, in their own faculty classrooms, it's been amazing. So my philosophy, it aligns to that grow forward, and that every single player in our environment is going to find a time to bloom. It's not going to be at the same time. It's not comparison-based. It's not looking across the locker room and wishing you were that person. It's buying in and knowing that your time to bloom in our environment is going to come. And my job right now is as a coach that we have all these blooms come together in this big final year of all these fifth-year players that's rich with so much talent, but also so much of our culture, so much of our leadership, so much of the passion that has bought into this model that I laid in front of them. So it's going to be very exciting when we start prepping, and we already have. But this preseason, this season, it's just going to be filled with that final bit of growth. And, I said it's sad, but ultimately my goal and my philosophy as a coach is that we build these players, we grow these players so they outgrow the program. We want them to have left it all on the field. I got goosebumps saying it. Like, we want them to outgrow the program. We want them to have their eyes set up on the NSL. I want players to say, we want to go pro. And getting a Final Four appearance in a lot of these players' goals and pathway will help them on those next steps. But it just is also going to say, look what we were able to do. And relatively a short amount of time. I'm just growing as a head coach, and I'm just on my journey, and hopefully a very long journey in green and gold Cougar colors.
A lot to unpack there, but you said you have about 11 to 14 girls graduating.
We do.
This upcoming season. How do you prepare them for that separation from the team? And the reason why I ask this is transitioning to a post-athletic life can be tough. You've spent your entire life up to that point, from maybe a teenager or even before being a teenager as a little kid, playing soccer in the clubs. You're going to practice. You're playing multiple times a week. Then you come to university for 4 to 5 years. That's all you're doing, and then after the final whistle on that day, it's done. Like, how do they prepare for that next phase, and how do you help them prepare for that?
So there's two parts to that. So we have what would be considered, the short term, and then a more long term plan. So what we have a platform of learning. So a lot of soccer is off the field and game IQ. We use a Google Classroom model that I'm constantly sending assignments their way. Just something like a game analysis, something that just helps them learn our framework, our game model, attacking, defending principles, just to keep teaching the game of soccer.
Okay.
What I do is, and I also engage my assistant coaches. So Carly Volrider, who is a player with the program, she's currently doing the U Sports Female Apprenticeship Program.
Yeah.
She's been tasked, and all of our coaches are tasked with doing an assignment in Google Classroom. So short term is she has identified she'd like to help prepare these players and just get them thinking right now in March, what is life after soccer? So they're going to get a very short term, reflection, start thinking about what does it look like. And that's going to be guided by Carly. Long term is we've just reconnected the program from, her playing name was Cam Bahia. She's now married, Cam Tallman.
Okay.
She's just come back to the program this year in sort of a transitions manager role. So her focus right now is transitioning our 2025 signed recruits from grade 12 students to first-year university students. So she's been leading with the help of Taylor Bubnick. She's been leading monthly classroom sessions, Zoom sessions, just really giving them the tools to succeed in an earned environment. Working with the players, and just layering in the things right now that's going to keep them confident, keep them successful, and keep them curious about their growth as a player. Now, once season starts and once they're through that first semester, her lens is going to change to our graduating players. And she's going to work with them in a mentorship program that is an exit mentorship program.
Oh, wow.
So it's a need that I've seen within the program. It's a need that good leaders surround themselves with other great leaders to close gaps that they just can't do. There's not enough hours in the day for me to do everything. But Cam has specialized. If you've heard of HER, so the acronym, it's Hopeful, Equipped, and Resilient, working with young women in high school age to teach them confidence, teach them tools as they go out into university workforce. That connection made sense with bringing our grade 12s into our environment and helping with that transition. Well, you sit with Cam and you see her passion and her motivation, and that slowly turned towards conversations around, are we missing an opportunity to mentor our programs, mentor our players, and support them as they exit our program?
Nice.
So now this year we're going to have a little more infrastructure, shoulder tap some of our alumni that's in career paths that our players want to go down, and start having those, we call them rookie mentors when they come into grade, when they mentor from grade 12 until they come here. So every current player has a rookie kind of idea. And then the next generation would be those alumni mentors that would start to come in. So everyone that's graduating is paired with some alumni that would be like-minded or in the same profession. And get them having some one-on-one conversations and give them some tools and guided conversations by Cam. So I'm excited about it. We're continuing meeting about it. But this graduating class is special, and all the graduating classes from our program have been so special. But just the size of this one. And the players that have been involved in this program, they've seen me develop as a head coach. Their first year was my first year. They've seen the transition and having this, I think, them transition to alumni and into the real world will also motivate them to come back maybe as one of our alumni mentors in a few years once they're established.
Wow. Just listen to you explain all that. I'm saying to myself, this is how you build a community.
That's the hope, yeah.
Just to see how, you're helping them out, but then at the same time, you're helping them come in. Yeah. You've got people, you've got delegated people to work, in these different areas. And and they all bring back to the program, and like that's amazing. Just before we go to a short break here, I just want to ask you one thing. We spoke about these graduating players that are on their way out. You came in around the same time they joined the program. What's been your favorite, the most memorable moment you've had with those group of players?
Oh my gosh. You know what? We've had so many moments. We've had so many big defining moments. We've had, our hearts absolutely broken on the field. We've had the highest of highs in winning the game, that we needed to be able to get into playoffs. We've had this roller coaster of emotion, but honestly, it's just watching them have grown. Like all of their first year selves would be so proud of where they are right now. That's my highlight. Like every one of their first year selves, like I just would love to go and give a hug and just say, like, just buy in. And you guys, you all did, but look where you got to. And a lot of them, they didn't have confidence year one, right? They weren't playing. They all have that little bit of adversity, resilience in their journeys, and they kept showing up. They kept walking through. They kept believing. They kept putting on, the Cougar jersey with absolute pride. But that's like I could tell days of stories and highs and lows, and but it's them.
Yeah,
It's them. Their journey has been the highlight because their first year selves, their 15-year-old self when they started their recruitment journey would be so proud of where they are. It's hard to play all 5 years.
yeah.
And you look at, people like Nat and you look at Emma who they are going to play 5 years and it took them 7 to do it. That's a hard path to walk. There's lots of resiliency in those two stories. Injuries, right? Changing of sport.
Yeah.
And you look at what they're going to do. And Emma just signed to go play in Burnaby FC. Regina-based player is going to go to BC and make a huge impact in League One this year. That's not common.
Okay.
So like watching what these players are doing and how they're choosing to prep their summer to buy into this Final Four dream, like every controllable they're trying to control, right? Getting in the best environment possible for the summer. Regina players historically don't leave to go play League One. Katie Chun, who plays with TRU, would be, off the top of my head, the only Regina player I can think of playing in BC in the summertime. And she's going to school there, so it makes sense. But
Yeah.
Emma's, that's so cool to see these risks and just how they're willing to stretch themselves to be better for the program.
Before we leave for break, you want to just quickly tell us what League One is and why does it matter?
Of course, yeah. So League One matters because, if you're looking at the highest women's soccer league that we could play in up until this year, because NSL, the National Super League, the Northern Super League, that's our pro league, our domestic pro league that kicks off in April. Before that, League One was our highest level. So you're playing the best of the best in BC. So all the women's university Div 1 players from the States, they all come home to play in these leagues. Like Pro-Am style, like this is the best players that you can get together. And then there's the national competition with the winners of each one of the leagues. So unfortunately, right now we're left out. Manitoba and Saskatchewan, we don't have League One infrastructure. So for our players to be in the best environment, they're needing to leave. It's a hard ask for 3 months when they've been in school all year round. Taylor Bubnick was a player that did it, and she went and played in Ontario in League One. So we want to celebrate that. We want to celebrate those players that are showing bravery, going to tryouts. You're going to see a lot more signings from League One this summer. Jessica Chow was just announced last week. We're making major moves in the offseason to prep these players for, this big season, and that just shows the buy-in.
Wow.
The Regina-based players will play in the Western Shield out of Saskatoon, the best environment against the best players, the Huskies, the alumni. The Rex players, we'll do the best we can to give them the best game environment, but we're just pushing everyone to bring their best self at the end of July when we start preseason. It's a big year for the program.
Awesome. Well, we'll take a quick break and we will be back with Coach Astrid Baecker here on the Scratching Post. Don't go anywhere. I'll be back in just a short time. SaskTel TV is your home for heart-pounding sports action in HD. Upgrade to ultra-clear 4K with TSN and Sportsnet, and you'll be front and center for every game. And with the Max TV app included, you're free to support your team on your phone or tablet anywhere. SaskTel TV, the top pick for sports fans at home and on the go. All right, welcome back to the Scratching Post. I'm here again with Coach Astrid, and we've talked lots about the team and how you operate the team. But tell me a little bit of, you've coached at the grassroots level for so long, coaching 2- and 4-year-olds. What was it like when you made the jump from coaching, the little ones running around to coaching, 17, 18-year-olds? Like, was it a big shock or was it more or less the same?
I wish I could say it was easy. It wasn't. It is a huge change. You're just looking at athletes that are on two ends of the development spectrum, right? Like at those first ages, the active start, the grassroots level, you're looking at players that are falling in love with the game for the first time. That's why it's the most rewarding age group when you're evolving as a coach and figuring out where you belong, because you get to be, the movie star in these kids' lives as they're falling in love with the sport. A lot of kids grew up with Coach Astrid, and I would go to the grocery store and I'd feel like a little local celebrity because kids would be recognizing me from anything from, Happy Feet to Queen City programs to anything that I was doing. And it's, it's really special to be somebody's first impression of the sport. It carries a lot of responsibility because you want them to love the game. You want them to love physical activity. It's not even about soccer. You just want them to have this place that can be the best part of their day where they belong, that they can just have fun. And I think when you work with the university players, some of the hardest conversations are reminding them why they love the game, reminding them of their 2, 3, 4-year-old self that fell in love with the game, because this environment is incredibly difficult. And it takes that continuous motivation of love of the game and really knowing your why as a player on the days that are hard. And there are hard days. There's hard days around just what your body is capable of that day. There's hard days around coaching decisions. And there's hard days around, just the motivation that am I doing what I'm truly loving to do right now. And so that love of the game conversation, it switches, and just reminding them of their purpose and reminding them that they're so equipped at this level to do what truly motivates them, and that it's never going to get easier. It never will. Like there's always going to be hard days. It's hard days when you're a mom, when you're all of a sudden in your career. But we're just going to keep giving you the tools to make it easier to deal with that hard. And that's the biggest difference is that, you still want to have fun, but results matter. Everything matters. Mistakes matters. Your habits matter after you make those mistakes. But both are so equally rewarding in different ways. I'm meant to coach women. I'm meant to coach this age group.
Why do you say
I know
that?
this because I've never felt this passion for the sport. I'm good at grassroots. I am good. I fill my cup with our Cougs and community programming. I'm good at getting our players to then come and become coaches and have that skill set stay with them for life. But I am meant to coach adults. I'm really. This is my career. This is where I'm meant to be. And I know that because of the feeling every single day when I see my players. Like it just lights up my soccer heart. Like that part of your heart that you're, I don't ever sit and put my hands in my head and question, am I doing the right thing? Mm-hmm. I know I'm in exactly where I should be. And I just question, what did I play the right system? I mean, as a coach, you're always going to question, do I did the right thing? Did I play the right system? Did I play the right players? Did I play? But I love that soccer keeps me up at night. Like that's what tells me it's the right thing. And this group of players and this age group of players, I only get them for 5 years. right? Where they're not permanent. I just get to see this really cool part of their lives where they're maturing as a person and they're going to pick their pathway. And that's so motivating to deal with this age group. But yeah, like, you know, you look at that golden age, the U11s, the U13s, they're fun. I'm good at it. But this is where I'm meant to be.
Now, did you discover this after getting, you know, into this role as a as an assistant coach and then becoming a head coach later on, or was this something you sort of knew before then?
You know, I'm very fortunate that I was able to have a lot of years served as an assistant coach. I always enjoyed working with mature players. I always enjoyed being able to come in and really teach them the game at the level of understanding they were already at. But I think when I first started, even in an assistant coach role, I sort of felt like I was already working with players that were fully developed. And it just felt like it was, all about platforms and system of play. And then when I came in a head coach role, I realized that there's still this huge job to do around player development. The players don't have it all figured out. They're not done learning. And I was able to fill my own cup by sharing my knowledge of the game, my passion around, you know, the tactical, you know, getting the opportunity to develop a game model at this level isn't something that everyone gets to do. Putting framework concepts together to teach the game. You can see how that's transitioned this program, really building a base knowledge of what we're trying to do in moments of the game and teaching the players. That piece of working with adults is so rewarding, and watching them develop and watching their soccer IQ grow and watching, you know, how they relate to the game just grow. Like, we use the word grow forward. We use the grow forward mindset. And that's really ingrained in everything that I'm doing. But if I wouldn't have had that taste, you know, in 2006, when I was Jason Jones's assistant coach, I was young. I was just transitioning out of being a player into being a coach. I wouldn't have considered myself an assistant coach then. I was more, you know, I would pick up cones, I would listen, I would learn, but I wasn't leading sessions. I wasn't leading. And when Bob had me in an assistant coach role, that's when I got to actually work with some midfielders. I got to be the lead in sessions. And I started to go, man, this is what I'm really looking forward to this week. So even though I was working in grassroots and working full time with Queen City, and I loved it, and I'm so grateful for my time with them, I really started to look forward more to having more conversations about the game with the older players, to working specifically with the midfielders.
Okay.
And that's when I knew that's where I wanted to end up. Because I would have been quite content, you know, making a career in grassroots soccer.
Yeah.
But now I know that I needed to get out of my own comfort zone and get uncomfortable. And definitely the first couple of years were uncomfortable because you're learning to be a head coach in front of the players. And that's where I say, yeah, now I know this is where I'm meant to be.
On the team, you know, there are a lot of coaches that have played on the team and come back as assistant coaches, like yourself. You've got Carly, you mentioned, Monica as well. You have a support coach on the team, on your staff. His name's Astrid Baecker. You want to tell us who Astrid Baecker is and, you know, why this person is important to you?
I appreciate having the opportunity to describe Astrid Baecker. So Udo is my dad.
Okay.
And I don't take for granted any single day how fortunate I am to work full time and have my dad in a support role alongside me. He worked, you know, his career was in soccer with the Saskatchewan Soccer Association. He's 74 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, and that
I
throws
didn't realize
people,
he was that old.
absolutely.
Wow.
He'll be 75 in May, and he, you know, is our most constant assistant coach on the sidelines of everything we're doing within our training environment. And I'm so fortunate for that, because as much as, that's my dad, and as much as, we have this great relationship off the field, and he pushes me all the time to be a better coach. He gives me an opportunity to slow down and reflect on the game, on the training sessions, on how we can be better. And I think one of the things that he is so good at doing is just sharing his love of the game with our players, and just building these connections with our players. And I think he teaches every single one of us at times to slow down.
Okay.
To look up and to see what the game is trying to teach us in that moment. And I think all of us as coaches and players sometimes in this generation just want to get our head down and work. And he'll interject some beautiful knowledge to us that we just need to get our eyes up and really see in that moment what we're missing. So as much as he mentors me, he is so generous with his time to this program, to all of our assistant coaches that are just getting started on their coaching pathways and journeys, and with our players. And I see our connections. I see those connections he's making with the players, and it's amazing. The graduating players, they'll always mention him in their speeches. They'll always, Abby Patterson this year had this beautiful speech. It was the most I've ever heard her talk.
Okay.
And one of the things she said to the players is, listen to Udo. He knows what he's talking about. And just the way that she said it, it was so impactful, because he is a master of the game. He's been involved in this game at a high level for so long. But he always adapts to what the game is adapting to. And he never has been stuck in there's only one way. He's always open to learning new things as a coach. And I find that so inspirational, because at 75, you could say, I have it figured out and everyone should just do what I say.
Yeah.
And he's never done that as a coach. It's always been about how can he involve himself still as a coach. He'll still attend any learning event that I send the way to the coaches. He'll still hop on our team Zooms. If I'm presenting, one of the coolest moments is this past February, we had some classroom sessions. And I looked up and I had challenged the players to write down, a list of things they love, just very open in their journals. What do you love? And I looked up and I saw, my entire coaching staff, including Udo, with their heads down, writing what they love, and just how he shows up as a student in those moments and still wants to learn. And he always has his notebook out, and he's always, something that we can do better. And I think, that's so rare, because there's a lot of people in the game that, they're in the game because their mother was involved in the game, but to be in the game at the same time as your father, and to be coaching in the same program, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that's not the norm for CanWest for U Sport teams.
I don't think it is, no.
And it's so cool, because I feel like I have this coaching community and network across Canada. Even when I went and did my A license, a lot of first conversations with me from people were, I know your dad. And I'm not my dad. I've never felt in my dad's shadow. Him and I have two very different coaching styles. We have really made our own path in the game. We have a huge respect for each other's coaching styles. And we take things from the game and we make it our own. But I never felt like I had to be him on the field coaching. And I don't think he's ever had felt like in order to be coaching in my program that he has to be me. And our uniqueness is what makes us two very, very good coaches. And my hope is that we role model that for our assistant coaches and young coaches that look at us. We are very different. We're going to smile. We're going to find joy on the field in the same ways, but we're going to teach the game in very different ways. And we're going to value things in the game differently. Udo loves lots of players in the back line. I'm evolving as a coach, and I want to defend better higher up the field and play with less players in the back line. And he gives me the confidence to explore that in our program.
Yeah, how do you manage that dynamic, right?
Yeah.
Like when as a coach, as a head coach, you've got different schools of thoughts, different ideologies, and now here you are, your dad's on a team who has a different maybe methodology in terms of tactics that's different towards your ever evolving style. How do you manage that as a leader? Like, how do you respectfully agree to disagree?
I think what it gives me opportunity to do is really, is this the right system? Is this the right, with the players I have, we talked about at the beginning, am I playing to their strengths? And hearing the counter argument in a really respectful way gives me confidence in my final decision.
Okay.
And that's one of the things as a coach you have to get used to, is that, you're going to be disliked. I'm very comfortable in moments being disliked. And I'll often say, and I'll say it with a smile, is that if you want to be liked, if you want everyone to love you, go sell ice cream, right? Go. This isn't the profession that it's all about being liked.
Yeah.
But if you can be disliked and you can share your why and you can share your thought process and you can say, I'm playing to the player's strengths in this moment and this is what I'm looking to do, I think there's great rewards for being really brave in those moments. I think the other thing it does is it gives me a lot of opportunity to talk through why it will work, why it might not work, what are the risks around it. And he'll always, okay, if you're ready for it. A lot of our exhibition games we've been playing in a back three. That's not normal for this program. But we have some really great senior talent right now that fit in the roles that we need to have wing backs and this back three and to make a diamond in the back. And why not explore it?
Yeah.
And it's risk-free right now in the off season, right? These game results are just for learning and growth and development.
Yeah.
But I'm very fortunate to have his opinion. I'm very fortunate. He's one that always says it as well, and I'll hear myself say it. I'm like, oh, that was so my dad. But like he'll always say, like, systems of play don't lose you lose you games.
Okay.
Players win or lose those games. Their habits within the systems of play win or lose those games. Yeah. At the end of it, you can only manage certain things, and it's the individual habits within. So, and sometimes I'll say that, systems of play don't lose you. And I'm like, I'm so my dad right now. But in the same way, good. I want to be so aligned to my dad.
Yeah.
And when I'm not, I want to be able to have really healthy conversations. If it was up to Mal, we'd play with a front five and we'd live in, teams, in our finish phase, just going at the net.
Mal, who's your offensive coach?
She works with our strikers. She's our assistant coach, and she's the assistant coach with the forward pack.
Okay.
And whenever I give our assistant coaches free rein on what system would you like to play in this game, it's like, maybe one defender in the back and five up top, and that's good though, because I want everyone to still be able to play around with things within, and I think from that, and Mal's ambition of having so many attack-minded players high up the field, and that we've learned we can high press as a team. So from those lessons, and me watching Mal structure this very offensive line and five up the front, that started to give me permission to say, wait, this works in moments that we can high press. Can we do this more as a program? Can we make it harder for other opponents to play out of their back and step our line? And you're going to see more of that this fall, because that's what we've been evolving to.
You say high press. Can you let the audience know what you mean by that?
Yeah, so just when a team is working out of their own build phase, so coming out of their back, typically their goalkeeper and their back line, any midfielders that drop down to get onto the ball, can we step forward and can we press the ball? So on certain triggers and cues, a bad pass, maybe a ball that pops up, something that turns a player's back to you, can we all step higher and just create this pressure basket around the ball that doesn't allow them out? causing more turnovers, in dangerous parts of the field that we can capitalize in a transition moment.
Gotcha. Love that. We'll step out for one quick break and we will be back. Don't worry about how much data you use on your phone. Switch to an unlimited data plan from SaskTel and keep doing all the things you need to do without any data overage fees. All right, welcome back to the Scratching Post presented by SaskTel. I'm your host, Arthur Ward, and I'm here with the wonderful Astrid Baecker, head coach of the women's soccer program here at the U of R. Astrid, you've been coaching full-time as a head coach since 2002, and it just seems like every year the attendance at the games has been growing. You having alumni out, you're having members from the community out. Even this past season, you had a flyby from the Canadian Royal Air Force, there's big things happening all the time at the soccer games. For any new fans to the sport, what are things they can look for when they come to a game to maybe make that game a little bit more enjoyable for them?
Well, I think we're at a real cool moment in women's sport because, we are seeing, more people than ever supporting women's sport, not just soccer, but women's sport in Canada and North America. Our attendance keeps getting higher. So now how do we retain those fans? How do we get them to keep coming back? And the women's sport model has really been based around, players. And when we talk about this graduating group of players, this is going to be your last chance to come and see them, learn about them. Our website is a great tool to just go through. We have Peyton Enns, who's going to set new program records this year, coming out and watching her play, watching our back line that's basically an entire graduating back line, watching their physical, gritty, bruiser brand of soccer. We're laying out just like this new soccer that this program hadn't really seen before. So we're not only setting new scoring records in the last 3 years, we're tying those scoring records, so we're maintaining lots of goals. This past season, we scored lots of goals, but we also produced lots of shots. There's lots of attack-minded players, and of course, when you think of basketball, there's lots of goal scoring and final act opportunities to watch. With soccer, there's just so much around how are we building, what are we doing in the middle of the field, what does the interchange of the players look like, how do we look when we're holding possession. But pick your favorite players. Who do you like? If you like the game of soccer and you play it, even if you're playing in a local rec league and you're a defender, watch Haley and McKenna with the absolute bone-crushing tackles that they put their body on the line to do every time we're out on the home field, right? Watch our goalkeepers extending and making huge goals, huge saves and preventing goals. Watch the amount of different players we have putting the ball in the net. So we love to celebrate Peyton Enns because she's going to, be on the record books in history of the program. But there's so many players around that are adding to our attack. But pick a player on the team, learn a little bit about them, and make a big sign. We have lots of people that have started to make signs for our games, and just figure out, what are we trying to do when we're in possession versus out of possession? Does the team look different? And, if there's people who want to learn more about what we're doing, connect with us. I'm happy to talk if there's local community coaches who want to know our framework, want to know what we're trying to do in and out of possession.
And what's the best way for them to connect with you and the team?
You know what? Email address. We are open. Our training sessions are open.
Okay.
If you want to come, just connect with me first.
Yeah.
And I can let you know what we're working on in training. I'm happy to debrief training afterwards with you. If one of the clubs wanted to bring down a group of coaches or somebody, I love the community that we're in. And I want to extend, my knowledge, the team's knowledge, my team's passion to as many community members that want to be involved. But come sit in the stands, watch training. Yeah. We only get 7 home games.
Yeah.
That's such a tiny amount. but come and watch what we're doing. And it's an exciting brand of soccer that we're putting on our home turf. And even when we go on the road, there's more and more Cougar fans in the stands, and that's such a cool thing to see. And our alumni is showing up, and where we have recruits from all over Canada, and they're coming out and watching with their families in grade 12 when we go and we visit. And I think that's the cool thing. So yeah, you always have, you don't score enough, it's not enough goals, it's not enough. We are scoring, we are putting these good things out on the field, and we try our best to have this really great home game atmosphere and connect to different community events to just widen the reach that we can with the program.
Yes, absolutely. The home games have, they've grown. It seems like you, this past season, you incorporated each of the 7 home games, tied it to a theme. Right. You've had special themes for each home game, and making it interesting and making it a good family event. I think there was, it tied into a larger alumni event with the university for one of the games. I think it was the same game with the flyby. There were lots happening before and after the game. If you are looking for something to do in the fall, starting end of August to going down to October, be sure to check out and see when the women's soccer are playing at home here in Regina, and you won't be disappointed. It's an amazing event. Coach, before we wrap this up, I just want to talk a little bit about the team. And, you mentioned that, we're scoring a lot of goals now. I think the scoring percentage is up historically, over the past 2 seasons here. What does the team need to win a championship? How do you get to that next level from where we are right now? That's something that I sit and I look at it and I sit and think, okay, what can we control? Where can we just make these 1% improvements, in our daily training environment, in our game environment? I really believe that we can get into that Final Four, that we can make a name for ourselves in our program, and this is going to sound really strange because it's the opposite of what we had just focused on with the goal scoring, because we can do that. It's going to be one in DO and DT, so defensive organization and defensive transition. If we can have players that live on the edge of hard work to put pressure on the ball and win it back in dangerous spaces, and we can change our individual and our team habits around defensive organization, that's the difference. The tools are there. We're scoring goals, and we're going to keep scoring goals, and we're going to keep become a better attack organized team. But the biggest gap, and I mean, the players are probably sick of me saying it because it's been this 6-week training block where we've been just focusing, and we're going to focus on it the entire summer as well, is how we look when we defend. So we ask a lot of our strikers, we ask a lot of our forward pack to defend, but we want to do it higher up the field now. We want to do it with more intensity. We want to be difficult to play through, and we want to demand players that teams have to figure out how to play around us. So I think if we defend with more intensity, just more aggression in our intentions around it, that we can change the look of this program between, today and when we start playing. Okay.
And I think that's the little bit of secret to success. And that's the influence. We talked about Udo. A good German coach is always going to talk about defense and defensive structure.
Is that your background, German?
That's it. Yes. Okay. So, and when I look at what I want to do with this program, I think that defensive piece, if we can just own some things in our defensive moments higher up the field, that we're going to be really difficult to get around. And then once we cause turnovers higher up the field, we just have that scoring work rate to be able to put the ball into the back of the net. And it's a whole team effort. We're going to push up higher. We're going to push up faster. Our back line's going to come up. And we're just going to, have urgency to defend passing lanes around us. So we're just uber focused on that right now in this block, and all the Google Classroom assignments around our habits in DO and DT, and around our principles in defense. What do we want to do in these moments? And I think if we really get that buy-in, and I'm seeing it from the players, I'm seeing the work rates change, that's going to be the difference maker. We can't defend the same way we've defended the last 3 years.
Gotcha.
Because we're just too easy to play out on. And it's not disrespecting the players. They're doing what I'm asking them to. But we can just work harder in different moments, and we can change what we look defensively. And I see the heads nod, and I see the excitement in the eyes of the players that we can look different in these moments. And I know they believe me. Like, I know they believe that we can look different defensively, and that's a game changer for the program. So.
Gotcha. To any potential recruits that might be watching or listening to this podcast, what do you have to say to them? What sort of players do you want to come and play for you and your program?
Yeah, this is the recruitment time right now. I just had 6 players in this weekend. The 2026s is the next recruitment class that we're already looking at.
Far out?
We're done our 2025s, so they've already been integrated in a lot of what we're doing as of January 1st.
Okay.
The 2025s have been doing strength and conditioning training. They've been involved in the mentorship program. They all have their rookie mentors. The local players are attending our training.
Okay.
So we've already integrated them into what we're doing to give them the best success rates when they come into preseason. And now we're focused on the 2026s. I think, one piece of advice, and if you end at the Cougars, if you end, no matter where your soccer journey takes you, if it's college, if it's a rec league, if it's university, if it's to a different country, is just know your why. Because there's going to be days that are so hard that you just need to remember why you're playing the game, and you have to know why you love the game. And I think that's extremely important, just who you are in an athlete, and academically. Make sure that where you're going aligns to what you want to do with school. Don't just come to any university, any post-secondary opportunity to just play and get a degree on the side. Like, be passionate and purposeful about everything that you're doing. So I'll have a lot of recruits that connect with me, and they haven't even looked at what academically we can offer.
Okay.
Academics are important in our program. In our leadership group, we have an academic committee. We set goals around what we want to do with this program and what average we want to get with our program. And so I think it's really important to really know your why, but also know what you want to study at this level. The school they are student athletes.
Yes.
That is part of the considerations. And I think, that's often forgotten in the recruitment pathway. It's like, I'll just find something to do. And those are the players that don't have a 5-year career. They don't last in the program.
Yeah. And that helps, post athletic career as well, right? Having something other than a sport to not fall back on. I don't want to use that phrase, but something to, another platform to jump off on into, transition into, life after sport. So if you have an academic career, waiting for you once you're done, it helps that transition, a lot easier. So that's very important that you take a lot of pride in that as a coach. To wrap up here, I know we've gone well over time, but Coach, you've been around the program for, a very long time, and you've got lots of interesting stories. I know lots of stories from experiences on the team as an athlete, but on the team as a coach. And let's just say that, I've had the privilege and the opportunity of, being a colleague of yours, working for the department here. I've had the pleasure of joining you on some road trips as well, and got to share in some of those moments. But before we close this off here, is there any stories that you are willing to share with the audience of just interesting things that have happened maybe on the road or with this team that you can share?
I feel like you're setting me up for the time I almost burned down a hotel. Is that what you're setting me up for?
Yeah,
Is that
that's
the
one of
segue?
them. Let's take that one. Tell us what happened there. How did you almost catch yourself on fire?
So, I'll always say, like, I get a lot that gets thrown my way. And, the grind of being on the road for weeks at a time, it feels like. And like, I am a very adaptable person. I pride myself on being able to tackle absolute anything, with a positive outlook, a growth mindset, and that it's a challenge. And it's, things might go super sideways, but I'll still pull out some good learning from it. So we were in BC, and I had like the original laptop from the program with me. Like, it was this big clunky Dell. And it was already giving me some troubles. There were some red flags around this laptop. It's getting really hot on the bottom. I mean, I ignored a lot because we were in season. It was like pushing through, slow computer. It was Bob Maltman's old one, so I'll blame him. Is that okay to do? No, no. So it's just this and I was going to get a new one after season. Like that was just like kind of just get this through, and then we'll get you a new one. Yeah. And so I was dealing. It was a road trip that just like one of those road trips that just a lot of combination of things went sideways. Okay. And I just kept I'll figure this piece out. I'll figure this piece out. And I was problem solving, and I was like, oh man, you just need like a quick mental reset. So I tossed my laptop on the bed, which isn't normally what I would do in a hotel room. Yeah. And I clicked on, I was like, a cup of coffee is going to solve everything, right? Okay. Just a quick, the little, you put the pot in, close it, went into the bathroom. When I was in the bathroom, I'm like, oh my gosh, that like coffee smells so good. It's going to really recharge me. I'm going to have the best day. And I just remember, and there was lots going on. And all of a sudden I'm like, it's burning. I can smell the coffee burning. And then so I come out and I'm like, what the heck? And there's just like a nice, really romantic smoke-filled room ahead of me, right? Like, I'm like, what? And I look over at the coffee pot, and I was tired, and I'm looking at the coffee pot, and there's smoke in the room, but it's just a light dusting of smoke at this time. And I'm looking at the coffee pot, and it's just not like there's nothing wrong with the coffee. Yeah. Like, it's a perfectly brewed cup of coffee. And I'm like, so I kind of grabbed the coffee with no urgency. Yeah. And I'm like, well, what would be, because it was something, right? Yeah. And I turn, and my laptop has started on fire on the bed with the bedding.
Wow.
And I kind of was.
It's actually burning like flames.
Like yes. Smoldering. Yes. No, it was. Yeah. We got melted plastic on the bottom. Like we're in a situation, and all I can think about. And I should have maybe just also added that I had like 5 minutes and I needed to be out of the hotel room. Yeah. So thankfully I stopped for the coffee and went to the bathroom and didn't do that in the lobby. Otherwise I would have thrown it and left. Yeah. Like that was the ending place for the laptop. I just threw it on the bed.
Which is a totally normal thing to do. Yeah, just kind
of a side throw. And so then I grabbed like the sheets because all I thought was that the sprinkler system was going to start going off. And then I thought about having to call Jill and disappointing Jill. Like that was I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? So I go outside. We're on the second floor and I'm on the balcony, and it's like a walk along balcony. All right. So then I'm like, well, I'm just going to try to fan it out. But when you fan a fire, and my husband's a firefighter, so I probably should know this, it just gets it going a little bit more, right? Yeah. So I'm just starting a bigger fire outside.
The laptop's burning in your hand right now.
Yes, and I'm trying to, but I'm just getting like the right amount of oxygen in it to really get it going.
Oh, no.
And I look over, and my players who aren't really sure how to read me because the result wasn't really what we wanted from the day before. It was, a sticky tie that we thought should have been a win. There was lots going on. And I look, and my players are walking back casually from Starbucks because keep in mind, we were going to meet in 5 minutes in the lobby. Yeah. And all they can see is me on the second floor with the laptop, which to them looks like I'm going crazy and smashing it for no reason. And they're looking at me, and and so finally I go
Just
to the
going
front
crazy
desk.
on the
Yeah.
balcony.
Yeah, my laptop. Yeah, and I don't know what to do, but I know I have to bring the laptop home with me. So we continue on, and I'm going to bring this laptop home. So a lot of other things happened on this trip.
Yeah.
It was just like this combination of funny things when we look back, and we get to the airport on 9/11, and I have a backpack with a burnt computer that still smells like burnt computer, and I'm going to try to get through security. So
As part of your carry-on.
yeah, because you can't put it underneath
Yeah.
because you have to keep your laptop and the battery up. So I'm trying to explain to them why I have this very suspicious burnt
Yeah.
laptop. And yeah, off I go to the side room, and my players are looking at me, and I'm trying to explain, and I'm thinking, it's 9/11. You just think of the date and the security around airport travel.
Oh, it was 9/11?
Like yeah,
Like September,
yes.
11th of September.
I'm flying, right, on a day where maybe
no.
airport security just is maybe a little more, like, not that airport security isn't always cautious.
Yeah,
But But like that was just like one of those. I also had a quick instance when I was pulling out the visa really quick to pay for cabs to get to the airport after we lost to UBC in playoffs. And it was like Halloween, like they all went out and the people all went out and partied on the Saturday night, and we were flying back, but we had to leave at like 3:45 to the airport.
Yeah.
So it's like drunk people in Halloween costumes up and down and being like, this is our cab, and I'm fighting to get our players in these cabs to get them. And I'm pulling out my visa to keep swiping and paying for to get them going. And I get to the airport, and my ID had fallen out during the credit card process. But yeah, I go through it with a smile, because how fortunate am I to even be in the position to have these, problems to solve. And I also I'm highly sensitive, and I'm highly aware that how I project problems or issues impacts my players. So if I'm nervous and I'm stressed and I'm coming in and my shoulders are up like this, I know my players don't play their best.
Yeah.
I know my players feed off my energy. My impact is huge on our program. So there's a lot of self-reflection and awareness on me that, hey, this might not look like, I'm sorry, I'm your coach in security with a burnt laptop, but I have a smile, and I'm doing what I can in this moment.
You have a very calm demeanor. It's not too often I see you visibly upset on the sideline. I mean, once or twice when there's some calls that are, I think any coach in that situation will get a little bit irate, but you have a very calm demeanor, and like I feel you cool down, pretty well. Like when you speak to your athletes, your players, it's with a soft but assertive tone of voice, right? And I think you've mastered that very well. I guess all the years you've had working with the full spectrum of the age bracket, from the little ones to the older ones, you've really perfected the art of communication. To get your piece and deliver it to the players. So I, wish you nothing but success. I really want this team to get to the Final Four. I know we've mentioned it a couple times.
That's a huge step forward of what we're capable of.
Okay, and one step at a time.
Yes.
One step at a time. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Head coach of the women's soccer program here at the U of R, Astrid Baecker. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Coach. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for making time for me. I loved it.
Anytime. So there you had it, folks. Another episode here on the Scratching Post. And if you like what you heard or like what you saw, feel free to find more episodes like this at the link in our bio or wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to like and subscribe. You can find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, so be sure to check us out. It is the Scratching Post, presented by SaskTel. I am your host, Arthur Ward, and thank you for joining us. It's always a pleasure to have you watching and listening from wherever you are. And until next time, take care and be kind.